Singapore approach, Singapore 883 Heavy, with you at 24,000.
Descendant maintain 8,000, Singapore 15 Super.
Golf Tango Hotel November, turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 5,000, maintain 5,000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left approach. Turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 5,000, maintain 5,000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left, Golf Tango Hotel November. Golf Tango Hotel November, turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 4,000, maintain Singapore approach, Singapore 883 Heavy, with you at 22,500. Singapore 470, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Singapore 22, Singapore 883 Heavy, radar contact. Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Singapore 470. Singapore 883 Heavy, requesting ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi. Azul 1 Alpha Delta, turn right heading 120, descend and maintain 4,000. Singapore 256, turn left heading 190, descend and maintain 4,000. Ethiopian 638 Heavy, reduce speed to 180 knots. Comet 70, turn right heading 360.
Turn left heading 190, descend and maintain 4,000, Singapore 256.
Turn right heading 120, descend and maintain 4,000, Azul 1 Alpha Delta.
Reduce speed to 180 knots, Ethiopian 638 Heavy.
Turn right heading 360, Comet 70.
Ethiopian 638 Heavy, turn left heading 020, descend and maintain 5,000. Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra, reduce speed to 200 knots. Singapore 317, reduce speed to 200 knots.
Reduce speed to 200 knots, Singapore 317. Singapore 957 is 29 nautical miles south of Batam hangar 10,900 feet, requesting ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi.
Singapore 256, turn left heading 110.
Turn left heading 110, Singapore 256.
Turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 4,000, maintain 4,000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left, Azul 1 Alpha Delta. Singapore 256, turn left heading 110. Azul 1 Alpha Delta, turn left heading 110. Turn left heading 110, Azul 1 Alpha Delta. United 167 Uniform Alpha Heavy, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Ethiopian 638 Heavy, turn right heading 080.
Turn right heading 080, Ethiopian 638 Heavy.
Singapore 222 Super, turn right heading 060. Turn right heading 060, Singapore 222 Super. Singapore 957, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Singapore 957, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Singapore 957, turn right heading 020, descend and maintain 6,000. Singapore 317, turn left heading 040. Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra, turn right heading 190.
Turn right heading 020, descend and maintain 6,000, Singapore 957.
Singapore 256, turn left heading 050, maintain 4,000, maintain 4,000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS. Singapore 883 Heavy, continue as filed, roger, Singapore 883 Heavy. Malaysian 119, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi.
Roger, Malaysian 119.
Singapore 317, turn right heading 100. Ethiopian 638 Heavy, turn left heading 110.
Turn right heading 100, Singapore 317.
Singapore 542, turn left heading 280. Singapore 222 Super, turn left heading 240.
Turn left heading 110, Ethiopian 638 Heavy.
Turn left heading 240, Singapore 222 Super. Singapore 542, descend and maintain 2,000. Turn left heading 280, Singapore 542. Descend and maintain 2,000, Singapore 542. Azul 1 Alpha Delta, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Singapore 256, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final, Azul 1 Alpha Delta. Comet 70, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Infinite Flight 0, radar contact.
Maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final, Comet 70.
Azul 1 Alpha Delta, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Azul 1 Alpha Delta. Singapore 542, turn right heading 350, descend and maintain 2000, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Turn left heading 250, descend and maintain 3000, Singapore 222 Super. Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra, turn left heading 070. Turn left heading 070, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra.
Cathay 413, requesting radar vectors to Singapore Changi.
Cathay 413, unable at this time, proceed on course to Singapore Changi.
Roger, Cathay 413.
Singapore 957, turn left heading 010. Ethiopian 638 Heavy, turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left approach. Singapore 256, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6.
Turn left heading 010, Singapore 957.
Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Singapore 256. Turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left, Ethiopian 638 Heavy.
Singapore approach, Cathay 413, with you at 12,000.
Turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left, Ethiopian 638 Heavy.
Turn right heading 060, descend and maintain 4000, Singapore 957.
Singapore 15 Super, turn right heading 170, descend and maintain 5000. Turn left heading 060, descend and maintain 5000, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra. Comet 70, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Singapore 317, reduce speed to 180 knots. Singapore 317, turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left approach.
Turn left heading 290, descend and maintain 2000, Singapore 957.
Singapore 317, turn left heading 050, descend and maintain 3000, maintain 3000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left approach. Singapore 317, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Singapore 219 Quebec Heavy, radar contact. Singapore 219 Quebec Heavy, turn left heading 280. Singapore 222 Super, turn right heading 350, descend and maintain 2000, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Turn left heading 280, Singapore 219 Quebec Heavy. Turn right heading 350, descend and maintain 2000, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center, Singapore 222 Super. Singapore 15 Super, turn left heading 070. Singapore 957, turn left heading 250.
Turn left heading 070, Singapore 15 Super.
Turn left heading 250, Singapore 957.
Singapore 222 Super, turn right heading 050, maintain 2000, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Lion Bear 835 flight of 2, requesting flight following to Singapore Changi. Turn right heading 050, maintain 2000, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center, Singapore 222 Super. Lion Bear 835 flight of 2, proceed on course to Singapore Changi. Proceed on course, Lion Bear 835 flight of 2. Cathay 413, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Singapore 957, turn right heading 280.
Roger, Cathay 413.
Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra, turn right heading 070, descend and maintain 4000.
Turn right heading 280, Singapore 957.
Turn right heading 070, descend and maintain 4000, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra. Lion Bear 835 flight of 2, requesting GPS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Lion Bear 835 flight of 2, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Roger, Lion Bear 835 flight of 2.
Singapore approach, German cargo 530 Heavy, with you at 5500.
Singapore 957, turn right heading 350, maintain 2000, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Ethiopian 638 Heavy, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6.
Singapore 311 is 23 nautical miles north of Kariman at 15,700 feet, requesting ILS approach any runway at Singapore Changi.
Singapore 311, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi.
Roger, Singapore 311.
Turkish 748 Tango Kilo Heavy, turn left heading 110, descend and maintain 6000.
German Cargo 530 Heavy, requesting climb to flight level 320.
Turn left heading 110, descend and maintain 6000, Turkish 748 Tango Kilo Heavy. Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Singapore 222 Super. Singapore 317, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Singapore 222 Super, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra, turn left heading 050, maintain 4000.
Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Singapore 317.
Turn left heading 050, maintain 4000, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra. German Cargo 530 Heavy, frequency change approved, good day.
Frequency change.
Dreamjet 790 is 33 nautical miles southwest of Raja Haji at 13,100 feet, requesting visual approach any runway at Singapore Changi. Attention all aircraft, hello, Cam from Infinite Flight here, the server... Singapore 883 Heavy is 7 nautical miles west of Batam Hang at 6,100 feet, requesting ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi.
Malaysian 119 is 15 nautical miles east of Kariman at 7,200 feet, requesting ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi.
Turkish 748 Tango Kilo Heavy is 14 nautical miles south of Tengah at 8,500 feet, requesting ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi. Singapore approach, Malaysian 707, with you at 27,000. Executing this approach, Singapore 222 Super. Lion Air 835 flight of 2 is 18 knots. Singapore 883 Heavy, turn right heading 360. Turn right heading 360, Singapore 883 Heavy. Frequency change approved red. Attention all aircraft, Cam from Infinite Flight again. The server update is complete. Thanks for being pro subscribers and have a great weekend. Lion Air 835 flight of 2, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi. Roger, Lion Air 835 flight of 2. Turkish 748 Tango Kilo Heavy, turn left heading 320.
Singapore 15 Super is 12 nautical miles west of Batam Hang at 5,000 feet, requesting aisles approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi.
Turn left heading 320, Turkish 748 Tango Kilo Heavy. Dreamjet 790, expect vectors for the ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi. Dreamjet 790, turn left heading 280. Dreamjet 790, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Dreamjet 790, turn left heading 290, descend and maintain 6000. Turn left heading 290, descend and maintain 6000, Dreamjet 790. Lion Air 835 flight of 2, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Singapore 222 Super is 11 nautical miles northeast of Singapore Changi at 5000. Singapore 883 Heavy, frequency change approved, good day. Frequency change approved Singapore 883 Heavy, good day. Singapore 15 Super, contact.
Singapore 311 is 17 nautical miles east of Kariman at 6,900 feet, requesting aisles approach any runway at Singapore Changi. Malaysian 119 is 20 nautical miles west of Batam Hang at 6,000 feet, requesting aisles approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi. Singapore arrival, Airbus 3 Heavy, with you at 18,500.
Singapore 15 Super is 7 nautical miles west of Batam Hang at 5,000 feet, requesting aisles approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi.
Malaysian 707 is 13 nautical miles southwest of Singapore Pai at 23,600 feet, requesting GPS approach any runway at Singapore Changi. Singapore 222 Super is 11 nautical miles northeast of Changi Air at 5,000 feet, requesting ILS approach any runway at Singapore Changi. Malaysian 70. Singapore 883 Heavy, contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Singapore 883 Heavy. Singapore 883 Heavy, wind 350 Number 1, clear to land, runway 2 center, Singapore 883 Heavy. Lion Air 835 flight of 2, wind 350 7, number 2, runway 2 center, clear to land. Number 2, clear to land, runway 2 center, Lion Air 835 flight of 2. Hotel Alpha Romeo Bravo Oscar, wind 350 7, runway 2 center, cleared for immediate takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 2 center, Hotel Alpha Romeo Bravo Oscar.
Singapore 225 Heavy, you're in an active airspace. Please contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Bravo 10086, you're in an active airspace. Please contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Vietjet 814, you're in an active airspace. Please contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Whitebird 186, frequency change approved, good day. Frequency change approved Whitebird 186, good day.
$500. $400. $300.
Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 334, ready for departure at runway 2 center,
200.
departing east.
$100.
Singapore
50.
334, line up
40.
and wait runway 2 center.
30. 20. Retard.
Line up and wait runway 2 center, Singapore 334. Singapore 883 Heavy, when able turn left and contact ground, please expedite, traffic on final. Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 225 Heavy, ready for departure at runway 2 center, departing south. Wilco, Singapore 883 Heavy. Singapore 334, wind 360 at 9er, runway 2 center, cleared for immediate takeoff. Cleared for takeoff, runway 2 center, Singapore 334. Lions Air 835 flight of 2, maintain slowest practical speed. Maintain slowest practical speed, Lions Air 835 flight of 2. Singapore 311, wind 360 at 9er, number 1, runway 2 left, clear to land.
Number 1, cleared to land, runway 2 left, Singapore 311.
Hotel Alpha Romeo Bravo Oscar, frequency change approved, good day.
Frequency change approved Hotel Alpha Romeo Bravo Oscar, good day. Thank you, good day, Hotel Alpha Romeo Bravo Oscar.
Singapore Changi ground, Philippines 953, ready to taxi to runway 2 left.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Golf Tango Echo Sierra Tango. Singapore Changi ground, Singapore 883 heavy, request taxi to A12 at the other terminals. Philippines 953, runway 2 center, taxi via Victor, Victor 10, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 2 center via
Singapore 883 heavy, taxiing to A12 via Victor 10, Singapore 883 heavy. Singapore 12, request frequency change. Singapore Changi ground, pushback approved, tail to the west. Singapore Changi ground, Qatari 945, ready for pushback.
Singapore Changi ground, Cathay 830 heavy, ready for pushback.
Singapore Changi ground, Air Force 1, ready for pushback. Cathay 830 heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north. Qatari 945, pushback approved, tail to the north. Air Force 1, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pushback approved, tail to the north, Qatari 945.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Cathay 830 heavy.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Air Force 1. Singapore Changi ground, Golf Tango Echo Sierra Tango, ready to taxi. Stand by, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra. Golf Tango Echo Sierra Tango, runway 2 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 2 center via, Golf Tango Echo Sierra Tango. Stand by, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra. Singapore Changi ground, FedEx 604 heavy, ready for pushback, requesting runway 2 center.
Singapore Changi ground, Cathay 830 heavy, ready for pushback with information Sierra.
Singapore Changi ground, Air Force 1, ready to taxi. Singapore Changi ground, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra, request taxi to parking. FedEx 604 heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north. Cathay 830 heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pushback approved, tail to the north, FedEx 604 heavy. Stand by, Red Cap 1 Hotel Sierra.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Cathay 830 heavy.
Singapore Changi Ground, Singapore 883 Heavy, request taxi to A13 at the other terminals. Singapore Changi Ground, Yankee Uniform Mike Yankee, ready for pushback with information Sierra. Singapore Changi Ground, Air Force One, ready to taxi.
Singapore Changi Ground, Singapore 311, request taxi to parking.
Singapore Changi Ground, Singapore 422 Papa Super, ready for pushback, requesting runway 2 center.
Singapore 422 Papa Super, pushback approved, tail to the north. Yankee Uniform Mike Yankee, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pushback approved, tail to the north, Yankee Uniform Mike Yankee.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Singapore 422 Papa Super.
Singapore Changi Ground, Singapore 305 Sierra Quebec Super, ready for pushback with information Sierra, requested.
Singapore 883 Heavy, taxi to A13. Taxiing to A13 via, Singapore 883 Heavy.
Pushback approved, tail to the north, Singapore 305 Sierra Quebec Super.
Atari 945, runway 2 center, taxi via contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 2 center via, Atari 945. Singapore Changi Ground, FedEx 604 Heavy, ready to taxi to runway 2 center. FedEx 604 Heavy, runway 2 center, taxi via contact tower when ready.
Singapore Changi Ground, Singapore 15 Super, request taxi to parking.
Singapore Changi Ground, Air India 0709 Heavy, ready for pushback. Taxiing to runway 2 center via, FedEx 604 Heavy. Air India 0709 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north. Pushback approved, tail to the north, Air India 0709 Heavy. Singapore 15 Super, taxi to parking, at your discretion.
Taxi to parking, Singapore 15 Super.
Singapore Changi Ground, Turkish 55 Super, ready for pushback, requesting runway 2 center. Turkish 55 Super, pushback approved, tail to the south. Singapore Changi Ground, Yankee Uniform Mike Yankee, ready to taxi with information Sierra. Yankee Uniform Mike Yankee, runway 2 center, taxi via contact tower when ready.